Okay, so welcome everybody to another episode of Spilling the Tea. I'm Caitlin Fleener, the Director of Career Education, and just want to say a quick shout out for our Center for Global and Career Education. We are always able and willing to support students in their career education journey. So, we have lots of resources available to you on our website, cgce.earlham.edu. I also encourage everybody to go on to our social media channels and follow us so that you can stay up to date with all of the events and things that we're doing, like the Spilling the Tea series, which is where we interview some pretty awesome Earlham alumni and catch up with them about the things that they're doing after their late life at Earlham. So today we are joined by Muhammad Mujtaba, who prefers to go by Mujtaba, so we'll stick with that going forward. And what we'll start out with is I will just ask you to give a little introduction to yourself. Tell us who you are and what you've been up to.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So as Caitlin said, my name is Mujtaba. I graduated from Earlham in 2018, and I'm originally from Pakistan. The first traveled anywhere was actually Earlham in 2014. I flew out to Richmond, Indiana to start my undergrad. I graduated with a major in physics and a minor in economics. After graduating from Earlham, I started my graduate education at Catholic University of America. Currently, I'm in that program, their physics program, and this is my second year. I like hiking, biking, weight training when gyms were open, of course, reading, all sorts of stuff.
Awesome. All right. So first question is, how did you get interested in your field and the research that you've been doing?
Right. So it all started in my first year really at Earlham. We were required to take some seminars, and there was like a list of them. And the one that I took, it was called Way Things Work, and it was taught by a professor in the physics department, actually, Ellen Keister. And that course is very interesting because it wasn't any rigorous, any like defined set of things like exams, quizzes, homeworks that we had to do. Instead, we got to read like these really awesome books on scientific paradigms, the way things work, actually, like physical objects, like toasters and mechanical instruments. And that was really exciting to start my college career with. And I'd always been interested in kind of thinking about how day-to-day objects work. So that kind of really channeled my interest in pursuing physics. At the end of my at the end of the fall semester, and I'd also taken a class in physics. The general physics was taught by a professor called Adam Light, who was very good. By that time, I had sort of started getting pretty interested in that. So I reached out to him. I told him, this is what I'm thinking. What can I do with physics and what can I go into? And he was very helpful in guiding all the possibilities that there were, how I could kind of channel my education and where could I go, where could I take it. So that's where it all started.
So that's a great plug for the Earlham seminar courses. Find your life path there. And so how did your interest in physics lead to the interest in some of the more specific research projects that you've done?
That was, in all honesty, quite a bit later. So when I started graduate education, my whole purpose was actually to come into academia, teaching, becoming a professor. And when I came to graduate school, when I started getting accustomed with the different research options that there were, I just realized that, it's very integral part of the graduate education. Basically, like 60 to 65% of what you're going to be doing in your time. So that's when I started asking really like deeper questions that, okay, what would I like to accomplish with my work? What questions that I would like to answer, what impact I would like my work to have on community at a broader scale and in the field that I study. So really kind of figuring out what was important to me, what helped the world, what helped the field, and what would be beneficial for people in the future was really how I got interested and pursued some of the projects that I did.
What has been the most exciting project that you've worked on?
That so that I thought a lot about that question, and to be honest, I was not able to come up with like or put my finger on like really one moment that was like ground shaking. Rather, I would say that since Earlham, even at Earlham, I have had an incredible opportunity to take some very fascinating courses, be a part of very interesting research projects that like was intellectually stimulating and helped me learn and grow quite a lot. And being able to learn all those skills itself overall was very exciting and very fruitful.
So what was I'm going to press you a little bit here. Can you give us an example of a specific project that you worked on that you just found really interesting, or that you think maybe the students would find really interesting?
So one of the things I talked about in a little bit in my bio was that I was working with the biomedical engineering department, working on building exoskeletons and different designs for it, for like hands and feet. So basically designing a 3D object that you can customize and just make something out of totally like thinking about it and just bringing it into real life was definitely a good example of that.
Yeah. So how did you decide that grad school was going to be the right step for you at that time?
Yeah, so I think just the desire to go into teaching and becoming a professor was where it all started. And there's still some interest on my part in doing that. What I did realize a little bit later was really trying to find a research project that is very valuable is something that I'm still working on. But I guess going into academia was really where it all started.
What were the things, so you knowing that you wanted to go into academia and also knowing that you didn't necessarily have a research project in mind, what criteria did you use to evaluate different graduate programs?
At that point, actually, when I was applying, I was interested in studying astrophysics. So I was looking for programs that would kind of support that, kind of had a good program for that. So that was, I guess, the fundamental factor. And actually, Catholic was one of the places that has a contract with the Goddard Space Flight Center, which is NASA's research lab. And they had a very, very strong program in astro. So that's kind of the criteria I used as I came in.
Great. What advice do you have for current students that are considering taking the grad school route? Mm-hmm. What are the things that they should do to prepare?
So one thing, the obvious one, is to take part in as much research projects as you can during your undergrad. I know that during my time, Earlham definitely had some summer programs where students could work with the professor for, I think it was like 6 weeks. And even during the semester, you'd carry on some of your research projects. So engage in all of that and take part in different projects as well. So I would say that if you're kind of interested in, like, for instance, physics or CS, pursue that, but definitely think about something that is not essentially in your field, because you may not go in a different direction, but you will still learn some things that would be valuable in what you ultimately end up pursuing. So do that, then actively reflect on the work that you're doing, on the research that you're doing, and think about what parts do you enjoy. Try to figure out what's like the specific elements of things that you enjoy, and what are the things that you absolutely hate. So kind of knowing that would help you determine, what project you make sort of your dissertation or pursue for long term in your life. Then I guess finding a good advisor, someone who you can really click with is important. Yeah, those are some of the things I would consider.
Great. After graduating from Earlham, what's been some of your what have been some of the challenges that you've faced?
So there haven't been any like major challenges that I've faced, but one thing that Earlham really had to offer was like its unparalleled resources, especially for a school of that size in the middle of Indiana. Earlham had a lot of resources, a lot of help available in literally if it's a subject, it's a research project, a business that you would like to start, a field you would like to explore, literally anything. So sort of getting that help was a challenge outside Earlham.
What do you have any advice or maybe some lessons learned that you could share with others about navigating that transition between, place like Earlham that is highly focused on that individualized attention and going into a bigger program or just a school with a different ethos?
Yeah. I guess in general, during your time at Earlham, regardless of whether you want to go into a different school or regardless of what you'd like to do, I would say that try to maintain a very, very good relationship with your professors. I realized quite later on in my life, I mean, I always liked Earlham faculty. I absolutely loved my professors and my time over there. But coming out of that, I realized even more how excellent people were, how excellent our professors were, how willing they were to help us out. So, and you will meet a lot of good professors and a lot of good teachers, but you will also meet the exact opposite of that, which is not quite true at Earlham. So definitely maintain a good relationship with the faculty and everyone, but definitely the faculty. We were talking a little bit before. I know that the study abroad program has been cancelled, and it's sad, but take advantage of that if that ever comes back up, because it's just like that was a kind of a regret of mine, that I didn't go and avail that opportunity. But it is what it is. But if you have time, if that ever comes back up, then definitely take advantage of that. And I think generally Earlham had a good culture, had a better culture. And if you're interested in anything, even slightly, go ahead, pursue that. You can always talk to people, even if it's like crazy outside what you have normally done. You will always find some resource at Earlham that will guide you in the right direction. So if it's a class that you're interested in, a project that you want to pursue, anything, just go for it. Don't be scared. Earlham is the best place to fail, I guess. So definitely try new things. Just don't be afraid of trying different things. You might learn valuable stuff for life.
Yeah. I do want to just quickly clarify for those of you watching and those of you watching later, Earlham didn't cancel the whole of off-campus study programs. It's just temporarily suspended because of the COVID pandemic. So it will return as soon as travel becomes safe again. But just wanted to clarify that quick little point. But we'll move on. So yeah, I think actually my next question, you probably touched on this a little bit, but just what advice do you have for students about making the most of their time at Earlham?
So I think, like I've said it many times, that Earlham does have a lot of resources to offer. So perhaps a good way to avail them would be to start thinking about the deeper questions of life, as in what you would like to accomplish in the long run, not just like right out of college, what is important to you, and why you would want to do whatever it is that you are trying to do. Just think about all those things and use those answers to guide how you utilize your time at Earlham. For me, like I said, I kind of regretted not utilizing the study abroad program. I realized later on that I love traveling. I love meeting new people and trying out different things. And if I had thought about that during my time at Earlham, maybe I would have taken advantage of the study abroad program. So just think about really important stuff in life. What matters to you, and it could be something very small. Doesn't have to be a ground shaking answer, but just don't wander through Earlham.
Great. So as you think about getting closer to the end of your degree, what are your next goals, next professional steps?
I think, to be completely candid, that is something that I'm working on developing at this point. What is important to me is doing work that really impacts people at some level, no matter how small. I love research, I love sciences, but what I definitely don't want is my work to end up at a lab and just no one taking any value out of that. So that is something very important to me. And if I can do that through one of the projects that I have already engaged in, I will do that. If it requires me to change things, I will do that. But what's like completely inflexible is that my work doesn't get utilized by people. It doesn't change anyone's life, that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Earlham graduates and current students have a similar desire to have an impact on the world and have the work that they do have purpose and meaning, more so than just collecting a paycheck. So you are in good company.
I would say it's not an easy choice. So that's another reason that I said earlier that think about the deeper questions in life, because some pursuits in your life are gonna require a substantial amount of your time, energy, and you don't want to do that for anything. It should be something that you really care about.
Yeah. So with that, I think I want to open it up to, we've got a good number of students on the call, to see what questions they have for you about your experience so far, either in grad school or doing research, or anything else you guys can think of. So feel free to unmute yourself and just ask your questions.
Okay, I have one question if no one does right now. So I think you said you're from Pakistan, meaning that you are an international student, correct? Yeah. Do you have any specific advice to international students applying to grad school? To give you context, I'm a geology major, and I think I want to go to grad school in sort of the science field as well. But do you have any specific words on that for international students?
Yeah. Would you mind sharing where you're from?
I'm from Guyana.
Okay. Rest. So as far as geology goes, I don't think there's anything that you would have to do differently. One thing I would say, and I've run into this myself quite a lot, unfortunately, is that working at national labs is very difficult, especially if you're from Pakistan. The paperwork takes forever and ever, and a lot of places, unfortunately, wouldn't even, it can get tricky. So working at national labs can be very tricky. So just be mindful of that. If you're going to be applying to programs, seek programs that have an independent section that is like funded through the university, that doesn't require you to like go out or do something like having to do something yourself. So that is something I would be mindful of as an international student. But yeah, besides that, I don't think you have to be careful about anything. What year are you in?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior. Are you gonna have to take the GRE?
Yes.
Okay, so prepare for that a little bit in advance.
Okay.
It will help you big time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I do have another question if no one else wants to go. How important is it to reach out to potential advisors for graduate school before applying? I don't know if you had to do that for physics, but we were advised for geology. You do.
Right. So if there is a specific subfield within geology that you would like to explore and you're very, very passionate about that, and if you know of someone who's doing research at a different school in that, reach out to them, tell them a little bit about yourself. And if you can hit it off, go try to meet them and get to know them better. You can generally reach out. It's okay. It can be okay to do that. Some universities, some professors get a lot of emails, so you may not even get a response, or it may not even matter. And some programs will tell you that don't reach out to us because yeah. So I would think about what is important to you, and it doesn't have to be like a defined topic, but if it's a subfield that you're interested in exploring, and there's someone else who's doing that, just reach out to them.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Who else has a question?
So I want to like regarding these summer opportunities, then like should we like if we like given like two offers, whether it's an internship at a company or it's a research opportunity, like what should we choose if we intend to go to grad school?
What is your major?
Oh, I major in computer science.
In CS, okay. And you want to go into graduate school for CS?
Yeah.
And are you thinking about, is this like a theoretical situation, a hypothetical situation, or do you actually have something like that?
Yeah, I'm thinking of like working in the field of data science or machine learning. So I think it would be like something applied rather than theoretical.
Right. So, but do you have an internship offer and you have something else lined up, or are you just kind of hypothetically considering that?
Yeah, because like some internship programs, they require us to sign like an agreement that like we cannot like apply for another thing. That like we decide to commit to them, then like we have to do.
And this is summer?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a tricky spot. I guess if you don't have another option and you're sort of running out of time to sign whatever contract you need to sign, then I would do that. But if you had another option and it's more research oriented, then my gut says that you should go with that.
And can I also ask, like, what's your experience with applying for research opportunities that like is not at Earlham?
That is not, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so I just want to like ask about your experience with applying for research opportunities that is not at Earlham, because
not at Earlham. Yeah, so I didn't get any of those. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
During my time at Earlham, I engaged in a lot of research with the Earlham professors. I would say that I didn't even try that hard. Kind of lazy by nature. So you should apply. I think if I were like in a sophomore year or something like that, I would definitely try to have one experience outside. One thing I would say is just to be mindful of is that a lot of REUs, research opportunities over the summer, bar international students. They like, because they're funded in a way that they tell you that, okay, so US citizen, that's it. So that is something you're gonna unfortunately have to be careful about, which is why I said that if you have an internship opportunity that is lined up and is guaranteed, take that. Don't think about anything else. But yeah, try. There's still a limited portion of that, and some people get it. So if you're really passionate about it, just do your research and go for it, apply, and see what happens.
Thank you.
And don't forget about your friends in the career education office that can help you with those applications.
Okay, I have one last question, I promise. I've been trying to decide between, going for a master's versus a PhD if I go to grad school. Do you have any specific advice in terms of like making that decision, except for the fact of like deciding what I want?
Yeah, and then that's fair, because you're an undergrad, so you don't really know what lays ahead. So it's fair to kind of be unclear about that. Are your master's program in geology, are they funded through your university, or would you have to pay for them?
I think they're funded through the universities.
Okay. In that case, you can go for the master's, and typically a lot of universities would have the option to convert that into PhD. And if you have already spent a year or two over there, you would know people and you would like almost guaranteed a spot if you decide to continue.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? Well, while you guys are thinking up your pressing question, let me ask one. So obviously this year's the big hot topic has been the pandemic, and the way that it has changed pretty much everything that we do. How have you seen, or what have been the impacts on the pandemic to your industry?
Yeah, so it definitely changed quite a few things. Like for instance, I was doing a small project with the NIH, and when pandemic happened, I want to say in February, they were like, send everybody home basically. And everyone who was not directly working on research related to COVID is not allowed in. So a lot of things got pushed, a lot of things got delayed, a lot of things got stopped indefinitely. So it has had its effects on the experimental side of things. On the other hand, people who are working, whose like entire research can be done as long as they have a laptop, that did not change too much unless they were waiting up on data to analyze. Then that element did not get affected too much.
What do you see as being some of the long-term effects of the changes that happened?
In my field or in general?
In your field, yeah.
I guess so. A lot of things sort of trickle down, and what we are seeing right now is that incoming funding is starting to see sort of a decline, and those things will, unless a vaccine comes like very soon, those things will trickle down eventually, and it might be harder to get people into such fields. But I would say that some universities are handling it very well and have managed the financial aspect and the research aspect of it pretty well. So it's hard to exactly kind of pinpoint what would happen, but it might decrease the number of spots a little bit.
Who's thought of a question? Or Mujtaba, if you just have information that you want to share, go for
a
it.
second. voice lagged, so I thought that you were on mute. That's what I was gonna say. So I saw you say something, I didn't hear it, so I was like, oh, okay, get back. But I would ask, so I can't see all the participants. Is anyone from physics here, like any of the instructors? Michael, maybe? No?
No, we have, I don't know, Megan and Donna. I'm not sure who else is here. Ben, I'm not sure what your all's majors are.
Megan is an Earlham alum. Yeah,
Oh.
she was actually at Catholic, so interestingly. Hi, Megan. Thank you.
Well, alumni are certainly welcome on this call and able to ask questions too.
Yeah, I'm also not a student. I'm an alum as well.
Oh, great.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
Not bad. How about you?
It's been a while. I just want to say, I think the last time we met was somewhere in Saga.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still in Illinois?
Yeah.
Nice. And I saw you're teaching, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I just thought I saw this email from Michael, so I just thought I'd jump. I know I was late, but thought I'd jump on and still see what was going on.
Just a lot of things have changed, but now that I've seen you, I will. This week is a little crazy. I'll hit you up and we'll catch up in detail.
Sounds good.
What other questions does the audience have? So you mentioned before that you were thinking about potentially going into academia, doing the teaching and research. Super hypothetical question. If you were going to go in and teach classes and you got your pick, what would be the classes that you're teaching?
I guess intro physics would be a lot of fun to teach those classes. A lot of students can kind of directly see what's going on. Intro to any engineering course, like in mechanics or electronics, that would be fun. I didn't mention this, but I'm kind of interested in psychology as well. So if I got to teach a course in psych, like social psych, I'd be pumped. Yeah, I have a lot of interest, so I don't know. It would be a hard question, kind of hard to figure out.
Yeah, how do you see, given your interest in psychology, where do you see the intersection of the work that you're doing in physics and psychology coming into play?
Well, the physics part might not, but one of the projects that I worked on and still part of in the exoskeleton development, the point of that is basically to use mechanical devices for rehab so people who have had some injury and have lost mobility in certain part of their body, in their hand or arm or any of the other limbs, they can use one of the devices that we make and kind of perform therapeutic work at home. They don't need to go to a physician or something like that. So one of the interesting elements of that is that while you can have a very high tech electronic gadget that is like an absolute masterpiece of engineering, but if it's not really appealing, if it's not very easy to use, it's not very convenient to use, if it simply just doesn't look pretty, people are probably not going to use it very much. So that's the fun part of designing something, that you have to think about the application of it, like how it will be best used in terms of its mechanics and everything, but also how conveniently people are going to be able to access that, how conveniently people are going to be, or how willingly people are going to be able to use something that you build. So yeah, I guess some of the psychology comes in over there,
Yeah, right. And I think that is probably where, you know, a liberal arts education comes in handy is when you're dealing in those areas that are not just black and white, that you need lots of the skills to be brought in from different areas to really make something successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm very, very glad that I had the opportunity to attend a liberal arts college and a small liberal arts college and take classes in different fields and learn about stuff that is not relevant at the surface level, at the least. So it helps, you know, kind of channel the way you think about things.
We got any last questions? We're just practicing the Quaker silence right now.
I should have done that before we started, right?
Probably should have. Well, any final thoughts from you, Mujtaba? Any final pearls of wisdom that you'd like to impart on our students?
Oh, that is, I don't know if I can do that. Be nice, I guess, and listen to people who you disagree with.
That is more true now than ever. And I think a great note for us to end on. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and to share a little bit of your life story with us. I'm sure the students here appreciate it, and I know that I do. And thank you to everybody that was able to join us live today. For those of you that are watching in after the fact, just a reminder that you can check out more of these stories and view all of our other resources on our website, cgce.earlham.edu. And with that, we will say thank you and good night.
Thank you so much for having me.